It's been a while since I showed you some of the things I've been digging up, some of the smaller items, so I thought I'd go through a few things I've dug up recently. Truthfully, I don't find as much as I used to. When I was digging out the inside of this, I think it became clear that it had been used as a dumping ground for quite a bit of time, probably a few decades at least. I think midden was the word used in the comment section, which just means an old dumping ground for household waste. So there were lots of animal bones and bottles and crockery and things like that. And that's less the case as I moved out beyond the inside of this building. And also the ground is shallower, so I'm doing less digging, less volume. But I have found a few bits and pieces I'll show you over the last sort of 6 months maybe. Mostly what I would classify as ironmongery, so rusty old bolts and nails and latches and hinges and things like that. But I'll give you a closer look and you can help me figure out what some of these things are, because certainly some of them I'm not really entirely sure what exactly they are. I have also done my final excavations of the year, doing a bit more digging out of the flagstones back there, so I'll show you the extent of what I found. What seemed like older pieces of iron with heavier rust, various latches. I have quite a few of these now. I think I've got 3 or 4 more in a tub somewhere else, from doors or gates. And you've got these things, which are certainly this one, very clearly horseshoe shaped and has holes in it as well for nails. But it's tiny. I mean, it's hard to see the scale, but it's not as wide as my hand. I mean, so it must be, if it is a horseshoe, it's for an absolutely tiny horse. I mean, a tiny little pony. And this one has much thicker set rust on it. There's almost as much rust on that as there is good metal underneath. And then there are a few other latches and things like that. This seems like another part of a door latch or gate latch mechanism. Got that little bit there. And you've got some very heavy duty iron pegs or bolts. Don't know exactly what they are, but that's about as wide as my thumb. Must be half an inch wide, maybe wider. This I dug up recently in the last bit of the dig above those flagstones. And there's other modern stuff. This is a caster wheel of some kind, with the wheel and then 2, connectors either side that would have been on the underside of some kind of trolley or something. I don't know. But the wheel is made out of some kind of strange material. I don't really know what that is. It seems like it's almost made of china. It's not plastic, and it's not metal either. I feel like these days they wouldn't make a caster wheel out of that material, but you might recognize that or what kind of material that is. But again, that's not very old. I mean, that must be late 20th century. And you've got much bigger iron, very, very rusty iron rods like this, which could have been part of the original construction. Some sort of connector for, I don't know, roof beams or some of the timber work, possibly. Quite a heavy duty hinge here, but I think this is more modern, just judging by the bolts, the nuts and bolts on it. I wouldn't think that was that old. I don't know. And I would say the most interesting item I dug up recently, which I'm not really quite sure what it is this. I thought maybe originally it was some kind of boot scraper. So it's got this blade bit in the middle, which is definitely tapered towards the bottom. It's got thicker at the top there and then goes down thinner to a sharper edge. I think this isn't obviously not that sharp now, but that's been dulled, may have been dulled by the rust. It could have been quite sharp to begin with. And there may have been 2, I suppose, handles either side. But this one seems to have come off. But then this bit, you see, it's got this bracket. But I don't know how old that is. It doesn't seem, again, the bolts don't seem that old. It also has a bit of barbed wire on it, which is a bit weird. I don't know exactly what that is. The other alternative is some kind of tool. So a bit like a draw knife, although I would say that this blade is too wide that way to be a draw knife, but it could have had a handle either side, a wooden handle coming out of here, and a similar metal bracket that seems to have come off on the other side, and then used like a draw knife of some sort. But again, I don't know what the barbed wire is doing there. I don't recognize this. I mean, the barbed wire suggests it's some kind of fencing item, but somebody in the comment section may be able to illuminate us. Again, I'm not entirely sure it's that old, and you can see, I don't know, just judging by the thread on that bolt, that's not 200 years old, is it? But I'm interested to know what it is, regardless. If you have any ideas, put them in the comments. People do ask me about metal detecting. I think in my natural digging process, I do uncover what is in most of the spoil. So I hack the soil to pieces and I put it into the wheelbarrow, and I bring the wheelbarrow over here and dump it. This is my big pile of spoil, although I have another pile just over there. So I do think in that process I do uncover the biggest pieces, but inevitably, if I run a metal detector over this whole pile, I'm sure I would find smaller pieces. So I suppose I should do that at some point in time. I am going to improve my sifting setup this year. I'm going to build a custom one because I think a lot of what's out there is not really good enough for what I want to do it for. So I'm going to make my own sifting device for doing the rest of the excavations. And eventually, when I get rid of this whole pile, which I do intend to do because I don't really want to leave it here, it's a bit of an eyesore, I guess I might sift this whole thing. I mean, it's quite a lot of labour, but it could be there's smaller metal things like coins and so on, which is what I really want to find. I'm really keen to find some coins. And I'd be amazed if the whole of the dig I can't find at least a couple of coins. You know, if people lived there for 100 odd years, 200 years, they must have dropped some coins in the land around the buildings. I did do some more digging out here on this flagstone area that I was trying to find the edge of at the end of last year. And I found, I think, the extent in this direction, this goes away from the buildings, of this flagstone area, because it didn't go that much further, maybe another foot or so. I found what seemed like edging stones along here, and the flagstones do not extend any further beyond this line there. I do think it does go further this way, because I haven't yet found the edges of the stones, but I don't want to dig any further that way for now because of the tree roots.